Look at the Hong Kong skyline at sunset. It is a glittering, hyper-wealthy metropolis rising from the jungle. The people living here have one of the highest life expectancies in the world, averaging 84 years. But that wealth is severely concentrated. Out of a population of 7.5 million, just 75 individuals own 10% of the entire territory's fortune. Because it is an island with strict topographical limits, there is almost no buildable land left. That geographic reality forces millions of middle and lower income residents into incredibly dense, towering apartment blocks. When a city completely fills its physical borders and the vast majority of its capital is gate-capped at the very top, the lowest income bracket gets violently priced out of three-dimensional space entirely. Hidden behind the walls of those residential towers, 220,000 people have been pushed into what are known as coffin homes. These are subdivided units measuring roughly 16 square feet. If you sit inside one, you cannot stand up. You cannot stretch your arms out. Many of these units are barely wider than a resident's shoulders, and this extreme compression is not cheap. A part-time cleaner earning minimum wage might take home $650 a month, and half of that, $320, goes straight to the landlord just to rent this tiny box. Look at this floor plan comparison. A standard Hong Kong prison cell provides 80 square feet of space and includes a personal toilet. You can fit exactly 5 coffin homes into the floor plan of a single prison cell. For the working poor of this city, the physical restrictions of daily life are tighter than the literal boundaries of incarceration. This spatial crisis is manufactured through illegal renovations. This diagram shows how landlords take a standard 800 square foot apartment, split it horizontally to add an extra level, and then aggressively carve it vertically into 30 distinct, coffin-sized units. The resulting environment is stifling. Without windows, there is no natural sunlight or fresh air. In the peak of July, temperatures inside can reach 110 degrees Fahrenheit, while the trapped air becomes up to 4 times more polluted than safe breathing standards. But the most dangerous compromise happens when basic household functions are shoved into the same square footage. The boundaries between the kitchen and the bathroom completely disappear. Residents who cannot afford to eat out are forced to handle and cook raw vegetables and meat on a shelf directly above a lidless toilet, washing their food in the exact same sink they use for sanitation. The landlord's drive for maximum real estate yield leaves the poorest citizens highly exposed to fecal contamination, running the daily risk of ingesting pathogens like E. coli and Salmonella. The lack of ventilation and the cramped, damp conditions create a perfect breeding ground for a secondary, microscopic threat: extreme bedbug infestations. A single female bedbug can lay up to 500 eggs in her lifetime. As they swarm and feed in the dark, the constant biting drains so much blood, it can leave residents suffering from chronic anemia. The human body begins to decay in other ways too. Because there is no room to move or exercise inside the home, residents are forced into an entirely sedentary lifestyle, heavily increasing their risk of severe high blood pressure and heart complications. Then there is the mental toll. You are packed like sardines with 24 strangers in a single hallway, separated only by thin plywood, yet the psychological isolation is absolute. Everyone suffers silently. The walls are paper thin, but the residents are so disconnected from each other that they usually only realize a neighbor has passed away when the smell of decay begins to drift into the corridor. The obvious solution would be the government's public housing program, which offers lower rent and safer conditions. Everyone applies, but the math breaks down. The wait lists for these apartments span well over a decade. For an elderly resident with failing health, waiting 10 years for approval functions as a life sentence. With no safety net and sky-high daily living costs, the elderly have to resort to grueling physical labor to survive. You will frequently see seniors on the streets pushing massive, overloaded carts of flattened cardboard just to make a few dollars. The wealth gap here is a permanent trap. For the poorest class, retirement does not exist. There is only back-breaking physical labor until the body simply gives out. Which raises a grim question. If the living are stuffed into 16 square foot boxes, where do the dead go in Hong Kong? Even in death, space is prime real estate. A basic burial plot on a hillside terrace cemetery is incredibly scarce, with recent sales hitting as high as $128,000. Because permanent space is far too valuable to hold indefinitely, the graves in public cemeteries are entirely temporary. Families do not buy them, they only rent them. The eviction process is ruthless. After exactly 6 years, the body must be forcibly exhumed and cremated to make room for a new paying tenant. The absolute final destination for the working poor is a columbarium. Here, the ashes are placed in a cramped, shared drawer no bigger than a shoebox. In a hyper-capitalist landscape running out of land, human beings are compressed and evicted endlessly. The cycle continues even in death. The 220,000 people living in these subdivided units are an essential part of the city's machinery. But these coffin homes do not exist to shelter them. They exist to hide them from the eyes of the ultra-rich. Once that makeshift door closes, there is no natural light, no fresh air, and barely enough room to breathe. The walls literally close in on you. In the most neglected corners of this metropolis, the poorest citizens are denied the space to live, and ultimately priced out of the space to rest.